What's up, everyone, and welcome to the pickup line where I don't have the producing figured out just yet.
That wasn't sneaky at all.
Yeah, I know.
There wasn't a third person here at all.
No, there wasn't.
Oh
And also, what I keep forgetting to do offline is have you remind me to get new audio for our intro. It's been the same for a while. We should have something different.
Okay.
We gotta change it up. We gotta keep it fresh.
Well, welcome to the pick line. Blah, 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 blah. Welcome to the pickup line, everybody. Oh, do you have
For a
some?
while, sorry. That was the YouTube replaying. Sorry about that.
Oh, I didn't
Also,
even hear
one
it.
more thing.
Okay.
Working on new thumbnails. Your boyfriend was very kind and sat down with me for like 2 hours.
My God, I'm sorry.
Went over no, it was so informative. He gave me things that I'm just like, oh my God, I never thought of any of this. So we got to make our thumbnails pop way more.
All right, we got some work to do.
But welcome to the pickup line.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Welcome to the pickup line. Just major trigger warning. We're going to talk about trauma today. Trauma in relationships. Trauma. If you want to call in and ask questions or share some thoughts, you can do that. 951-364-2430. And today we have a guest with us. If you caught a glimpse of them at the beginning, you want to introduce our voice?
Yes, I would just love to bring on the lovely Jenna Belk. Jenna, how are you?
Where do we know Jenna from? All the things.
Well, I know you from Austin, Texas, which I miss very much.
You what?
I said I know you both from Austin, Texas, which I miss very much.
I know. Come back soon.
Dude, I need like friends like you around here.
Have you heard that song, Come Back to Texas?
No, I haven't.
Is it a country song?
No, it's by Bowling for Soup, and it goes, "Come back to Texas." Oh my God.
We're going to get a copyright strike.
Anyway.
Wait, you both can sing, so hey, might as well. For those who don't know, they can both sing.
Jenna can definitely sing. I was so like,
and so can Hannah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Hannah has a theater voice.
She does. Powerful too.
Yes. So I am very impressed with you. I mean, thank you. I didn't know I could sing.
You sing very well. I was like, damn, Jenna, what the fuck? Yeah, we went to karaoke and Jenna like sang a little country ditty.
And I bitched out.
I know. I'm so surprised, but also like it's okay. You'll do it next time.
Did you dye your hair?
What?
Did you dye your hair?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to a wedding this weekend, so I got my press-on nails that I just bought from the store that I just put on. So I'm feeling real. And I dyed my own fucking hair. So I'm like,
did I, Ethan? I didn't notice. I don't notice things like that. Sorry, Hannah. It's not you.
I normally don't.
I feel like surprisingly, Ethan sees me more than you, Jenna, which like I don't understand why that's a thing.
Aww.
Well, actually, I mean, I'm kind of isolating right now. Like, I'm grumpy.
You've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's okay. You are growing a human being right now. Like, I literally don't expect anything from you. I love you so much. I will see you when I see you, and I need to see you soon.
Yes.
A present for Dexter.
Oh, well, birthday present for you from way back when.
What? My birthday was in December. That's so sweet. Oh my gosh. So I don't know how to like start off this topic. I don't know.
Well, can I start it off?
Yeah,
that's how we started off.
I want to start it off just by mentioning that when you're dealing with trauma, and for the record, none of us are mental health professionals.
Yes.
We're bros.
Bros.
So
bros.
I mean, it's true.
So PTSD is a disorder. It is when you have been traumatized to the point where your life has become unmanageable. Okay, that is what PTSD is. When we're dealing with trauma, every single person out there has been traumatized in some way at some point in time. So when we're talking about trauma, we're not just loosely throwing this word around. we're actually talking about actual suffering and pain, and that's, we'll have to just look up the definition of trauma and read it out just so we can work with that. But I just wanted to make that clarification, that we're not saying that every single person that has PTSD.
Right.
We're saying that everyone has trauma, and so everybody can take some part of this and apply it to their own lives in some way.
So the definition would be a deeply distressing or disturbing experience, and then also a physical injury.
So imagine how many times that's happened to each one of us.
Yeah, like I think
I've had a lot of distressing events.
I mean, trauma creates stress, and stress is how you grow. The problem is when you have too much stress, and even worse, chronic too much stress. That's when you have things like the disorder.
Right.
I had chronic continual stress for several years due to the, my past issues. And it definitely, I think it's made me overly paranoid at times, because as you had said, I think you said this before we were live, it puts you in this fight or flight mentality. And when you're in that for a long time, it's like, at least in my experience, I feel like I reprogram my brain and I see threats where I shouldn't see threats.
Well, that's literally what's happening though. When you have too much of those fight or flight chemicals fire off in your brain all the time, or just too much, it does something to your brain. And because I can't think of a better way to describe it, it rewires it in a way. You're I'm gonna be in fight or flight mode all the time, or randomly when I don't need to be, and then you can get panic disorders and shit like that.
Well, and that's when there's a distinction, and I don't think that CPTSD is in the DSM yet as a distinction. It might be, but I'm not sure. But CPTSD is to specifically identify that is when it's chronic, when it's been a time period, rather than an event that you can point out with your finger.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting, is because I've been diagnosed with PTSD, but anytime someone has explained complex PTSD to me, I'm like, I identify with that. That makes way more sense.
Yeah,
to what I'm going through.
That's probably what it is. It's just not, I don't think it's in the DSM yet.
That's interesting.
I'm pretty sure you're right on that, because I even had a psychologist said they don't even view it as an acceptable diagnosis at this time.
Right.
Yeah, and that just could be because more research needs to be done. That doesn't throw it out the window. That's
exactly.
Oh no, of course not.
Yeah, that's just kind of
at this point. It's really just more of a descriptor of the disorder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's fun. And it becomes even more tricky when you start to have someone intimately involved in your life who gets to witness the fallout of it. And I guess I'm specifically talking about when you have a disorder, that can be really tricky. But I think everyone has trauma that they can unpack and or need to unpack, or already have. But I mean, the best thing you can do is learn why you're reacting to certain things a certain way, and you can circle back and go, oh, this is why, this was the event, or my upbringing was like this, so now this thing sets me off, or I'm this particular way because that. I mean, everyone's got shit.
Yeah.
And real quick, just so we're referring to the DSM-5. In case people don't know what that is, it is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition.
It's basically the most recent version of things that they have discovered in the medical community, because the fact is that what we learn changes things.
Yeah.
And the way that we see things. And so as science changes, we try to change with it. And so if it's not in the DSM-5, we really shouldn't be classifying it as a disorder. It's because it's not yet. But like the comment that you just put up here, it does take a while, and there's obviously not a whole lot of volumes coming out. So it's
Right.
not like they update it every time something changes. That's just unrealistic.
Right.
So here's this might be a better question for a medical professional, but in case either of you are familiar with it, Norman wants to know, is abuse a learned behavior? Where I think they're going with that is like, let's say I was abused growing up. Does that mean I'm more likely to abuse other people?
So again, not coming from a mental health professional, and you should still talk to a mental health professional if there is a reason for asking that question. But yes, actually, if you are abused, you are more likely to abuse. That does not mean that you will become an abuser. That does not mean that. All it means is that your chances are higher, and that could be 1% higher. You know, I mean, who knows? It's different in everybody, and it depends on the abuse, and it depends on duration, and it depends on what kind. You know, it depends on all kinds of things. But that's really up to you.
And there are different types of abuse. And again, heavy trigger warning if you're listening to this episode. We may be jumping into some uncomfortable topics, but there's physical, mental, and sexual. And all of them, obviously.
And emotional. Oh, yeah, just mental.
Yeah, mental.
Yeah, or verbal or whatever like that. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
neglect.
if you're exposed to that, it's going to make you at risk to think that's not think it's normal, but at least it kind of just becomes a habit of this is how we respond to stress. This is how we treat people, you know? I mean, kids are sponges. So, you know, they grow up being abused. It's like that becomes how they express their emotions too. It makes you very much at risk for that. I mean, it takes a lot of work to not be that way. So, you know, I really feel for that.
And just to validate the person that's asking that question, I was abused in several different kinds of ways. I don't blame my abusers, because I think that parenting and being a child can be just bad habits get passed down, and it takes a lot of effort to break a cycle. And I'm actually working with my parents at this point in time to break the cycle, which is interesting. But the fact is that there have been some abusive traits that have been passed down. We've learned better now. And so now we're working really, really, really hard to reverse that kind of thing. So while I have abusive tendencies, when I am hurt, when I feel genuinely threatened, I can be very nasty, and that is not who I want to be. That is not that's basically what I've learned in therapy, is basically that is my inner child, my past me fighting against whatever it is that's hurting me, because I didn't feel like I could then. And so I'm going to now. And so that's why it takes, like what Hannah was talking about earlier, recognizing those moments when you are losing it, recognizing those moments where you are no longer actively thinking. And just for example, I just had a phone call with my grandmother today. So this is a relationship, right?
Right.
I adore this woman. We don't agree on many things. And we are both very blunt with each other, which is awesome, but there's some trauma there. And I was like, there was a point in our conversation, we were talking about vaccines. And it wasn't going very well. And so I was like, I have to go. She's like, well, I guess I just should have lied and just told you what you wanted to hear. And I said, no. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Just understand that when I am emotionally affected, when I am recognizing in myself that my emotions are now leading what I'm saying and not my logical thinking brain, I need to remove myself from the conversation, and we can always come back to it. Now, these conversations don't always take 2 minutes, so we can always come back to it, but I need to recognize that moment where I am no longer in control. And that's why I'm so big on mindfulness, because it takes practice being able to slow your mind down enough to recognize those moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I can completely relate to that. I have had, I've mentioned this before, like I have been an abusive person, and I would just go into react mode when I felt threatened. I thought, okay, I'm being hurt. My reaction is to hurt. Like I am going to fight back harder because that's what was like normal to me. And you said something really interesting about not blaming your abusers. I think that's like I don't think I'm ready to like even utter that about myself, but I also was told by a friend of mine, your trauma and things that have hurt you can be a good explanation for why you are the way you are, but it is your responsibility now to, it's not an excuse, and now you're responsible for how you're going to move forward and react and behave. Like it's not an excuse for poor behavior and
or causing more trauma.
Exactly. I mean, my abusive nature, or
I can't picture that.
I know.
Like, I
was
can't picture either of you because you're both so sweet.
Because we've learned the dark side.
We did some shadow work, but I should have gotten treatment and gotten help a long time ago before I started to inflict my trauma onto other people. But that was like the moment where when I started to be like, oh my gosh, I'm turning into what has hurt me so much. That's when I started to like talk to mental health professionals and get therapy and be put on meds. And that's everyone's treatment plan is going to look different, but that's what like started that for me.
It's awesome.
And thank you. It's weird to talk about because I, for a long time was like, oh my God, I abused someone. I just like, I never want to, I don't want anyone, not like I don't want anyone to know, but like it's a really
embarrassing,
it's a humiliating thing to admit because like I don't want to be that person. That's so embarrassing that I was that person, but I understand why I was doing it. And I have actively made sure that I will do everything I can to make sure I don't repeat those kinds of things. And, you know, the way that you were explaining just cutting off the conversation, that's something I've had to do. I will literally be like, I cannot talk about this right now because I start to feel my blood boil and I know how I have been. I have to like be very responsible with how I react to anger. And sometimes it means just shutting it down entirely.
We have a couple calls. I can't talk. Yeah, but one thing I wanted to mention was how, for me, I didn't start realizing I was in, or at some point, in some abusive relationships until I started seeing the girl I'm seeing now, because I've never been treated this good before, and it's different.
Yeah,
it's nice. Contrast.
It's actually scary because it's so nice, and she's really mentally supportive and compliments me, and it's all like, wow, like I'm not used to this.
Well, it becomes it's weird what things you accept as normal or the things that you see as acceptable when that's all you know. So then when you have that contrast, you're like, well, what's wrong with you? Like it's
why are you so nice to me?
It explains why people like stay in abusive situations or like, you know, everyone's had that friend, they're like, they always pick toxic people, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, because they might kind of understand like, yeah, I'm upset all the time, but they don't think that it can be any other way.
They probably see, and speaking as somebody who's been through something like that, they probably see some of themselves in that person.
Yes. Yeah.
So they can sympathize and they want to, you know, they feel.
Well, yeah. And you can excuse it because you're like, well, I kind of go through something similar.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they just had a bad upbringing, and it's like, yeah, that can explain, but it doesn't excuse. And
right. And that's why I actually wanted to bring it just kind of full circle really quick to you mentioned, yes, I am working with my parents on building a new relationship. Actually, I sorry all for being so open about it, but I'm happy. You know, they just flew me up to St. Louis to see them, and me and one of my sisters actually had a conversation with my mom, and it was beautiful. We both talked about some memories that we had from being kids, and my mom, gosh, she felt so bad, and we just kept reassuring her, we don't blame you. And this is what I think is so important, and also not required of anybody. We don't blame her for not knowing then what she knows now.
Right.
Because the fact is that she is learning and she is growing and she is changing her opinion and her perspective on the ways that she brought us up now. But she can't, I mean, it's just a waste of time for her to beat herself up about it rather than, you know what, let's just start building a new relationship with each other. And so we've been open now about that. And now we're excited to start doing that. And so it's, while I'm excited about it, I am not in any way suggesting that anybody is required to reconcile with their parents. Because if I did not see any growth or change in perspective in my parents, this would not be a conversation.
Yeah. I have one parent that I have reconciled and forgiven a long time ago, and it's like wonderful. And while they feel totally responsible for a lot of things that happened to me, it's like, dude, you didn't know. The other parent I have attempted to, and because no growth has ever been made or attempted, it's been cut off. So yeah, absolutely. So that's what I had to do for me to stay sane, is like, I can't keep trying. It hurts way too much. It's causing it just brings up all the trauma every single time. And I cannot live that way. So it's great when you can reconcile it, but it's not always possible. And that sucks super major dick, but like, it's okay. It's okay.
But neither one has to be permanent or necessarily is.
Yeah.
You can reconcile for now, and then people can slip back into old habits. And likewise, people can change really late in life, but it's up to you. That's
exactly
huge.
Yeah.
I do want to get to our caller. Okay. Also, Norman, I do see your questions. Unfortunately, we are not the people to answer those. I would definitely go to a medical professional. I don't even think any of us should be commenting on those questions. But let's get our first caller. So, Ian, how trauma combined with being autistic has prevented me from finding love. Being bullied makes you feel worthless, and then it makes it even harder to pick up on social cues. Ian, you're on with Hannah, Jenna, and Ethan. How are you?
Oh my God.
Hello.
Thank
you very much for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for calling. Go ahead. What did you? If you could expound on what you wanted to chat about.
Well, I want to let you know right off the bat that I'm like formally diagnosed autistic, and these kind of things are like very difficult. So like I'm a nervous wreck. So you'll have to bear with me a little bit, I'm afraid.
Take your time.
You're totally safe here. Nobody's going to judge you for anything. And just remember, though, we are not mental health or medical professionals in any way. We're just here to listen and, offer our own thoughts.
No, I really appreciate that, man, because I've been a fan of this show forever. And believe it or not, like I've never done a live call into a show before, but like I appreciate the sort of culture that you guys have grown here, and this is like a unique opportunity because I watch all of your shows with Jenna and the pickup line, so to have all three of you here is just like it inspired me to call in, especially given the topic.
Oh, that's awesome!
Thank you.
These are two of my favorite ladies, that's for sure.
These are two of my favorite peeps.
All three of you, you're all amazing people, and I really mean that.
Thank you.
So to sort of get why I called in, because as well as everything I've just said, the other thing that inspired me to call in was the topic, which is trauma and trauma and love or relationships or whatever. And I kind of figured that trauma and lack of same would maybe fall under the same umbrella of the topic, as I explained to the call screener. So I'll get to it. So one of the difficult facets of having to live a life that being autistic is inability to read social cues and body language particularly. So I tend to take things very literally, and I have a real hard time reading between the lines. So if someone says that, like, oh, I'm okay, then I'll just believe them. And apparently you're supposed to be able to, like, tell that they're not okay. And anyway, the reason that's particular to the topic is apparently that I am unable to tell if somebody is interested in me, or, you know, those little social cues and flirty things that people do. But I just literally cannot pick up on them. But the reason that's become a toxic issue for me is because I'm a late diagnosed autistic. I wasn't diagnosed until 2 years ago when I was 35.
Congrats.
So I had 35 years of living, being autistic, but not knowing that I was. So all of the, air quotes, strange behaviors that I exhibited, I now know in hindsight through research are like perfectly normal autistic behaviors. But I didn't know that then. So I was always the weird kid, you know, the one that flaps their hands and makes funny noises and doesn't get stuff. So I have been quite viciously bullied for my life, pretty much. Like, I thought I always, like, when I was in school, I used to sort of coach myself through it, because it'll get better when you reach sixth form, which is our equivalent of college, I guess. And then when I was in sixth form, I was like, oh, it's okay because it's still school technically, so it'll get better when you get a job. And then I found it got even worse when I tried to sustain employment. And there's just to sort of demonstrate my point, there's a quote I'd like to share with you that is very rampant in the autistic community, and it's one I've internalized, is, if you judge a fish by its inability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing it's stupid. And that kind of sums up the internalized bullying and worthlessness I've felt, which means that even if somebody was exhibiting some kind of interest in me, or the sort of subtle social cues that people give when they're interested in some sort of romantic scenario, like, not only am I already on the back foot of being able to pick that up, but even if I kind of do pick it up, I just dismiss it out of hand, because I'm like, well, they're not going to be interested in me, so I'm obviously reading into this the wrong way. And consequently, I've pretty much been single my entire life, and it's been difficult because it gets lonely sometimes, quite frankly. So yeah, that's why I called in. Sorry if I didn't articulate that very well.
So
That was beautiful.
I know not everyone is into hugs, so I want to give you a big non-touch hug.
Air hugs?
Air hug. Okay. I do
Thank
wish
you.
I could give you an air hug right now. I know what it's like to be bullied and to be made to feel like the weird kid. To this day, I still feel like the weird kid. And yeah, I think all three of us are pretty weird. So,
I mean, we are, but
Yeah. I can relate to that. When I realized that I had ADHD, and I know that's like super different. Well, I mean, people say that sometimes they go hand in hand. I don't know, but I thought I was just weird and stupid for so long until I got that diagnosis, and then did research and was going to therapy and realizing like, this is why I did all the things that I do. And there's other people that do the same thing. And that's actually very normal behavior for the way that you're wired. And it's like when you start to realize that so much, it's like it opens up this whole new world of possibility because you understand yourself better. You can work on trying to explain yourself better or express yourself differently.
Right.
I don't know what it's like having autism, and I really feel for you because like that does sound like, yeah, that could be so lonely. And then having that voice in your head that tells you like, oh, no one's going to want to be interested in me because of things that people have told you. And I wish I had advice, like a way to just like be like, hey, do this and it will be fixed. But I just feel like the responsibility is on like the world, because I wish more people were aware of how to interact with people with autism, because I feel like it's something that is lacking. I don't know if I'm alone in feeling that way.
Amen.
Go ahead.
Amen. Absolutely. I mean, in the UK, we have something that's called Autism Awareness Month, which is a great step in the right direction. But unfortunately, all that means is that people light stuff up blue and put autism awareness signs up. But autism awareness, like actually sort of awareness of what it is to be autistic and the behavioral aspects and the psychological aspects that comes with, is sadly very lacking. And it's been a difficult journey for me. But if I may, Hannah, can I expand on what you said a minute ago? Because I've been on, it's the reason I'm emboldened enough to make this call is because of the journey I've been on over the last couple of years since I found out I was autistic. Because that for me was the missing piece. And when I, as you said, sort of researched all of the everything about autism, and so I was like, oh, that's me. And I felt not alone. And all of a sudden, all of these like weird things that I used to hate myself for are now normal. And I've also, over the past 14 months, been in sort of quite intensive therapy. And I've kind of, believe it or not, me calling in would not have even been possible a few months ago. So like, believe it or not, this is progress.
That makes me happy.
But that's fantastic. Yeah, no, absolutely. Freaking cheers. That's wonderful. Like it sounds like you're doing everything right. I mean, I struggle with those like really nasty self thoughts. So I wish I could get better advice, but I mean, you're going to therapy. That's wonderful. But you mentioned that, you know, when people say I'm fine when they're not fine, that is a pet peeve of mine. If you're not fine, don't say you're fine.
Okay, let me push back a little on that. The problem with that is there are times, like for me, I pick up on body language and tone, and sometimes people are just asking that to be courteous. They just want you to say, hey, I'm fine. They don't want to hear you complain, although I shouldn't call her complain. They don't want to hear you say something negative. So it's just kind of like a common courtesy.
No, not how are you? Oh, I'm fine. But I'm talking specifically when like, hey, are you okay? Because you seem like you're upset. I'm fine.
Oh, yeah. I'm
not fine.
So the thing is that
if I may, like what Hannah just said is exactly where I was coming from. Like the whole, you can pick up that something's wrong and you're not quite sure what it is. So you're like, are you okay? And they'll be like, I'm fine. And you're like, all right, cool. And then they get mad at you because you're supposed to pick up on the fact that they're not fine when they said they were when you asked. And that's where I was coming from with that. I just wanted to clarify. I'm sorry for the miscommunication.
Yeah, and sometimes
to be fair,
okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you first.
I was just going to say, to be fair, I think that's a lot of people who don't know how to interpret that, because I don't think that I don't think that there's a one answer to why people do that. I think there's many different reasons and different occasions and it's all on spectrums and all that. So I think there's a reason most people don't know what people are actually trying to what was behind that, you know?
Right. And I understand that sometimes it's not an appropriate time to be like, actually, I'm not fine. Here's all the reasons I'm upset. But when you like say you're fine, but you want the person to just dig deeper, it's like, why are you torturing this person?
So that's an interesting thing that I think has to do with trauma. And
yeah, I guess I'm just
my own
judgmental.
Well, just from my own experience, I've done that a lot. And that's part of what I think was part of my abusiveness on my part in my relationship is I would say, fine.
It's not fine.
And like, I'm like glaring at you while I'm saying it, right? I'm like, I'm trying to communicate something to you with my face only. And I want you to show me that you care enough about me to investigate further. Because I'm making it glaringly obvious that I'm not fine, but I don't want to tell you right now because I don't think you care. So show me that you care by doing a little bit of digging. So that's kind of how my traumatized brain works.
Blew my mind.
What if,
I did not, like, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. I'm just like, why do people just, because like, okay, I grew up like with a very Italian upbringing. So I'm just like, why don't you just say how you feel? Like, just yell.
There's a reason.
So what about in this situation where we have someone on the phone who wouldn't be able to pick up on that?
Yeah.
They aren't necessarily thinking this out when they're doing that. They're in an emotional state and they're just fight or flight. They're just responding. And I'm speaking very generally. God, I am by no means representing every person who says I'm fine.
Right. But I think in your specific case, like, I think definitely put that on your checklist of ideal partners of like someone who will be understanding of the fact that you need people to be, you need them to be direct. Because, you know, no game.
Say what you mean what you say.
And that's hard to do because, you know, so growing up in, at least my background, the way that I was raised, saying what you wanted or saying what you meant didn't get you anything.
Right.
Or didn't get me what I needed. So I had to find ways to manipulate my environment to get myself what I needed. And that took doing things like screening processes, like the fine thing.
Mine was just say it really loud. Eventually you'll get your way.
I did not. So
this brings me to think it's really interesting. People are all just like balls of trauma.
Yeah, basically.
You find whose trauma can kind of sort of mesh with yours and see if it's tolerable.
Yeah.
Like everyone's gonna have trauma, but the kind of trauma that would not be good for a caller would be someone who does not say what they mean. You know, and then you know that I'm not saying like if someone doesn't say what they mean, totally don't ever date them, but they need to be at least open to working on that.
I love that kind of finding whose trauma meshes with yours. That's exactly right. I
think I saw that on a meme or something.
I think there's one thing that we would be able to help this caller with. Perhaps Hannah, Jenna. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't assume. May I ask your? Okay, hang on. I got to think carefully here.
I'm straight. If that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Ask what's your sexual orientation?
Okay. So I wasn't sure if I was supposed to ask that or not. If that's too personal, so I'm like, crap. Okay, so now
if you're opposed to a personal question,
I'm straight.
I'm glad you asked. So, Hannah, Jenna, perhaps if you're aware of any, I know you can't speak for all women, but if you're aware of any potential cues that Ian could look for. I know in my experience, one I've seen, and this, I can't say this is true in every scenario, but touch. If a woman is constantly touching you, I have noticed that usually means they're interested. No, that doesn't mean you should make a move or advance on them. Some people are just touchy, but that is one cue that I look for. Do you think that's accurate or am I incorrect?
everyone flirts differently. I feel like I don't know. That's really tricky. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like the only reason no, Jenna, you go because I need to gather my thoughts because I don't know.
You know what? I think a good answer to that is yes.
What? To like the touching?
No, just yes. And what I mean by that is when I first was like my God glass is shattered, right? And I'm seeing the world in a completely different light, and I'm trying to figure out, well, if we don't have the Bible and priests and the Pope and stuff, how do we know anything, right? And I come to Eric Murphy and I look at him with these terrified eyes and I say, how do we know things? How do we know anything? And he says, he just kind of laughs and says, yep. And that told me so much. That told me there is no answer. That like there just isn't. You just have to just go and it's trial and error.
Yeah.
You gotta just figure it out. I mean, that's the shitty part of, but that's what I'm learning life comes down to. We just have to figure it out. And no matter what title you put on your trauma, whether it's PTSD or CPTSD, or if you've been traumatized by being bullied or neglected or anything, no matter what label you put on it, you have a set of symptoms that you have to handle on a day-to-day basis. So do you.
Yeah.
Ian, we do have another caller we got to get to, but was there anything else you wanted to ask?
No, you've been very helpful, and thank you for your call. If I may, just very briefly before I go,
please take your time.
I'll give you an example of what I'll give you an example of what you're working with, to for lack of a better term. There's a girl called Lisa who I once went on a date with. This is one of the almosts, and we're friends now. So she told me after the fact that she was blatantly flirting with me, but I didn't pick up on any of it. And one of them, I took her to the cinema, and it was the first time I'd ever taken a lady to the cinema. And I obviously let her pick the movie, and I can't even remember what the movie was, but she kept trying to like feed me, as in we had this like big bucket of popcorn, and she'd pick a bit out and eat a bit, and then she'd try and put a bit in my mouth, and I found it really irritating, because I'm like, why is she feeding me? I don't understand. Like, why is she trying to put food in my mouth? I'm not an infant. I actually got irritated, and I found out like after the fact that was supposed to be like a seductive thing, and I was like, oh shit, why didn't you say that? And I realized this is a flaw on my part, because I don't pick up on these things, but it is a genuine source of frustration.
Can I give you some advice?
I wonder. Yeah, please go for it.
Go check out, get a trustworthy chick friend, and go find some chick flicks.
Did you just say chick? I'm trying to remove that from my. I've been told that's bad to say, so I've been trying to remove that from my repertoire, because I've made comments like, "Dude, look at the hot chick," and I've been told that that's not cool.
Well, the way that I'm intending to use it is not to say necessarily women, but all spectrum of women. So that's why I used the word chick, is because I feel like in my experience with it's a more broad term.
Okay.
But what was your advice? You find a chick friend and do what?
Oh, and go get a shit ton of chick flicks and study.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Wait. Are you telling me to study chick flick movies?
The only reason I'm saying, and the reason I say to bring a chick friend with you, is because she'll tell you when they're just bullshit and when they're not. But there are a lot of chick flicks out there, and what I mean by chick flick is just a generic term of typical like boy meets girl, very, very straight, very, very gender biased, but improving in Hollywood. But my point is that there's a lot of women who do a lot of those things, and that's why they're in the movies. And so if you're trying to understand more clues and cues and things like that, these chick flicks will expose a lot of them. I'm not saying do what you see in chick flicks.
No.
I'm saying that you can use them as a study tool and it cannot teach you necessarily, and it will teach you an exaggeration of what reality
when
is.
girls go like,
I'm just saying but that's what I did. Is I learned a lot from Mean Girls.
yeah,
I love Mean Girls.
Learned a lot from Mean Girls.
Okay.
I
Also,
learned what a condom was from Mean Girls because I was like, Mom,
Sorry.
what's a condom.
guilty pleasure. I love the movie 13 Going on 30.
That
So
is
do
one of my
I.
all-time fave.
Generate. That's my name.
Dude, we got to do the Thriller.
Oh my God, yes.
That would be so much fun. All atheists.
Sorry, Ian.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ian,
We
I
have
apologize.
3 ADHD friends here.
But
It's all good. I love this show. Just listening to you guys banter is great.
we do have a couple more callers. Ian, thank you so much for taking the time and getting the courage to call in. And I definitely would invite you to call back anytime. It was nice talking to you.
Hope to hear from you again.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Love you guys. And I love both your shows, both the mental health one with Jenna, which is a very important thing to be discussing and a much needed show in the world. And this one as well, because I've been listening to you guys talk about relationships for ages, sort of trying to pick up tips, I guess, for lack of a better term. Because like loneliness is difficult. But anyway, I'll conclude by saying thank you very much for taking my call. I'm sorry I was a bit nervous and a bit all over the place.
You were fine.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for your
I'm
time.
really glad you called.
Secular sexuality.
Thanks very much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to let you know that secular sexuality.
We just keep.
I was just going to let you know that secular sexuality is also a good resource in addition to this show to learn kind of a more progressive view on relationships. Add that to the chick flicks. So
Yeah, definitely.
you know.
Awesome. All right, Ian.
All right,
Thanks.
sweet. I'll check them out.
Talk to you later.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
That was a really good call. I enjoyed that.
That
I'm
was
really glad you
good.
called. My cheeks hurt from smiling.
I hate that. Exercise.
Exercise
Exercise smiling.
Yeah. Walk around with a pencil.
I know, right? Ugh. I needed that though. That was nice.
It was actually, that was a pleasant call. And, you know, going without companionship can be hard.
Yeah.
Like for me, I had briefly touched on like how I actually went years without sex. And that like really screwed with my mental health. Like my confidence was completely shattered, especially like in intimate settings with women, because I was just so not used to it anymore. And I felt like so unwanted that it took time for me to start building my confidence in those situations again.
Trial and error.
Thank you for the $10 super chat, Jeremy Smith.
Thank you.
Your show serves a valuable purpose, and I thank you for what you're doing. Well, it's
It's our pleasure, man. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't be possible without Hannah and Jenna. This is a great episode.
I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
My cheeks.
Okay, so
Ugh.
for this next caller, I would like to issue a very heavy trigger warning. This topic may not be easy for most people, so please, if it deals with a particular type of assault, so if that is something that triggers you, please turn it off now. Jazz wants to talk about how the host dealt with trauma, specifically sexual assault, when it comes to new relationships. Jazz, you are on with Jenna, Hannah, and Ethan. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Hannah's cheeks hurt.
I know.
So go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm in my first ever real relationship, and I've come across a lot of things that I haven't thought of before, of course. So I figured I'd ask you guys and get a variety of opinions. We have been together for like 5 months at this point. And like I have a lot of trauma from my childhood, which, you know, goes around with my dad had a particular mental illness and stuff, and that really shaped my life too. But and then I had some more later in life that has really messed me up. But you know, I'm currently working through it in therapy when we got together, and I'm just wondering how you broached this subject with new partners that you got into a relationship with. Like he knows what's like general, very like non-specific, generally what happened. Just like, trigger warning, you know, this, if you say something like this, I might not be able to handle that. So, you know, don't do that, please. But like, as I want to get more specific with him and stuff, how did you guys approach that in your relationships?
It's a really good question. I mean, I want to start off by saying if this person is worthwhile, they are going to respect your boundaries and care about what happened to you, and not in like a prying way, but they're going to listen and care and respect your boundaries and be there while you work through it. As far as how to bring it up or how to get more specific, I mean, that's just kind of based on your own comfortability. Don't do anything you're not ready for. That's all I can really say. Like, I mean, I know that there might be this part of you that really wants to share that to, I don't know, like if it's like get it over with or to feel closer and to make sure that you're safe and can lean on this person. But if you're feeling apprehension, I would say maybe wait it out. Because now that I'm reflecting more on this, I have like opened up about my trauma to people and then like kind of regretted it because like the relationship didn't last, and then I just kind of felt spent. I don't really know how to explain it because I actually haven't thought about this in a long time. So forgive me for kind of being all over the place, but
totally fair.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's you're definitely going to want to take it at your own pace, especially when it's coming to something like trauma. You don't want to push what you're comfortable with. I mean, there might be that desire to push yourself because you want to get to a certain point, but if you're not ready, you're not ready. And that's, I don't know. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I don't want to like make a big deal about it or anything, but it's like something he has to know. You know, if we're going to go much further in our relationship, he kind of needs to know a little more than like general specifics. But at the same time, I don't want to just sit him down and be like, so here's trauma 101, you know?
So
right.
If I may, I as Hannah said, you know, whenever you're comfortable, but I have had, you know, partners, I don't know if this helps at all, but I have had partners confide sexual abuse in me or their past abuse, and it's never like dissuade me, you know, from, it didn't scare me away or turn me off. It obviously made me feel horrible for them. But I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm sorry. This is a heavy topic.
So can I give my 2 cents?
Absolutely.
Yes. 2 things. If I were to give you my layman's advice, just from my own experiences, and my own lessons from therapy, is when you have something like that you need to say, to not build it up can make it easier sometimes to talk about, to not put so much weight behind it. Like, like literally just tell them flat out, there's something that I think that we need to talk about. And it might be heavy. And I'm a little, and just tell them what you're feeling. I'm afraid of this, or because if you can start a relationship off being that honest with each other, in my opinion, that's a pretty good way to start off. If you can't, then I would ask myself why you don't feel comfortable being honest with this person.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, yeah, like you said, I don't want to make a big deal about it, and I'm really trying not to hype it up in my head or anything.
I'm not saying it's not a big deal.
I don't want to. Yeah, you know, and there's like a lot of things in that and stuff, in my personal assault and stuff that I'm not at a place where I can talk about it, but I'm also know that if I just hold off on it, it's not gonna help anything.
Well, you could even say something like, I'm not ready to talk about it yet.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
like being flat out, just honest.
Wouldn't that be like, oh, what did you say?
I'm sorry. I'm so bad with the delay right now.
So for everyone knows in the caller, there is like a second delay between the call and stream. So occasionally, unfortunately, we will overtalk each other.
But I was just saying that you could be honest in that way too. You don't have to tell everybody everything when they require information. It's up to you, just like Hannah said. But when you're not ready, you can literally just say that. Say, I have something that's important that I need to talk to you about. And maybe let them know what to expect because of it. But just say, but I'm not ready to talk about it all the way yet. And when I am ready, I will let you know. You know, to reassure them that they're important enough to you that you will tell them when you are ready.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really helpful. Thank you. I think, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I like Jenna's answer.
Well, it's a combination of y'all's, so it's full circle.
Yeah, no, I really hope that helps because, yeah, I feel
Call
great.
back and tell them what happens so they can tell me.
Yeah, Jazz, I definitely let us know how it goes, and we appreciate you taking the time to call in and speak with us.
And I hope all goes
Awesome.
well.
Thank you guys for taking my call.
Of course, anytime.
Absolutely.
Always welcome to call back.
Yeah.
All right.
Y'all have a good rest of your night.
You too.
You too.
Man, we're getting like a good amount of calls today. We still got more.
I know. Okay. Is anyone too tired for overtime? Or, I mean, and we
I
got.
can do a little overtime.
All right. Okay. Take one more. One more.
We have two more, though.
Okay. We'll take two more.
Okay.
They have to.
Okay. Well, this one is really good. It is Thomas, and he wants to talk about how to tell if a girl is flirting with you.
Is this my Thomas?
You're on with Hannah and Jenna.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
It's my Thomas.
I'll try to be quick because I know that you're over time, but I've got some advice for Ian as someone who most of my life was incredibly socially awkward and homeschooled and didn't pick up on cues and was the type of guy who throughout high school, you know, girls wouldn't throw a Coke on if I was on fire, you know, like it was just not noticed. And as far as trying to determine like if someone is interested in you, obviously you have an uphill battle as someone, you know, who has autism. Like it's going to be hard to pick up on certain cues. But my advice would be, one, try to find someone who is a reputable relationship expert or coach. Don't look for like pickup artists because you're going to get some like really like kind of shitty sexist advice, and they're going to, you know, maybe be like talking about ways to like trick women to be with you, and that's not the type of relationship that you want. But if you find someone to be like a therapist who like specializes in, you know, relationship therapy and like trying to determine, you know, different signs and different things and ways that people flirt, ways that people show interest, And then I think that the advice that Jenna gave, where it's like you bring, a friend who's like a platonic relationship, a girl who's willing to help you along to like kind of see and measure and maybe people watch and watch couples and see like how they flirt with each other and like start to pick up on cues. But just because someone displays one of those cues to you that could potentially be flirting, like, Ethan was saying when a girl, touches you a lot, well, you can have friendly touch.
Yeah,
that's not
true.
flirtatious. Like if someone just reaches out and touches your hand, they could just be offering sympathy. And so,
good point.
Just if you talk with them and you're very like open and honest and sincere, like people across the board appreciate sincerity. So if you're not coming across in a predatory way, but you're genuine with them, and you say like, hey, I have a really hard time picking up on cues. I feel like you're flirting with me, and like. You can even say it in a way that's friendly and that's kind of, like maybe kind of add a little laugh or something to it. And if they're not, they'll be like, no, I was just being friendly. And you're like, oh, okay, I gotcha. It's no big deal. Like you haven't made the situation awkward. Now, if let's say that they touch your arm and then you just lean in for a kiss, then it would be awkward because you may have read too much into it. But simply asking is fine.
Right.
So that would be kind of my advice is like, one, study and learn and stuff, because it's going to take a lot more effort and it's going to take a lot more work just to pick up on the cues. But it's something that you can start to learn, because like I used to be really bad at it, and I kind of, started like kind of trying to figure out signs and stuff. And then my second part, and I'll keep this shorter, is put yourself out there. Like I know it's terrifying. You're going to get shot down. Like you might get shot down 10 times out of 10, and maybe the 11th time is the lucky, charm. And then you find and meet someone. Maybe it's 100 times, but like the more times that you put yourself out there, even if you don't end up in a relationship, you end up with good stories and you have a good time, and you go out and you spend time with people, and you kind of get a feel for like what type of people are a bad match for you anyways, and what type of people are fun to be around. And you might make some friends. And that are platonic, or you might end up in a relationship. But the more times you put yourself out there, it's time for it's practice.
I completely agree with Thomas, and to add to that, I would like to say that I think my dating situations improved when I started focusing more on just like getting to know people rather than like looking for a partner. I made a lot of excellent friends just from meeting up off dating apps or Facebook, rather than like trying to go in with, yes, I want to date this person.
I like
just
that ulterior motive end goal.
That's hard. That's hard to do.
It is, but it's worked well for me. I have met some friggin' awesome people just by doing that. And it does genuinely, like it helped build my confidence around women again and get me more comfortable simply by having, friends who are women.
We rock.
Yeah, and I would say fire on all fronts. Like go join a club where you're dancing, and it's like there's nothing sexual about it, but maybe you go and you learn how to swing dance or salsa, and you're getting comfortable being around people of the opposite sex. You're getting comfortable with touch in a platonic way, and you're not going to freak out as much in those situations. Because I know, like, I was so nervous, and then I went to college and I joined a ton of like extracurricular groups, and it wrenched me out of my comfort zone and made me more comfortable in all kinds of situations by putting myself in those situations. Have platonic friends, and then also, download Tinder, or like get on a dating site, or go to a speed dating thing, or find places where you can meet where you are interested in dating. But like every single one of those, like it doesn't have to be a rush to like dive into the first relationship of someone who takes interest in you. Like be careful about that, but just like don't be afraid to kind of explore and experiment and push your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, Tom has
really good at this stuff.
He's come a long way.
I mean, look how far he's come. Look at
it. Can I tell you, speaking of like being direct when you think someone's flirting with you, can I tell you what this boy said to me? Can I tell them? He doesn't know what I'm going to say.
What is it?
Well, it's not incriminating, but when we were like messaging each other over Facebook, when like we were, I was still living in California, and we were kind of like, we started to talk all the time. what did he say? He said, so like we've been talking a lot and I really like you and I think you like me too. Am I wrong?
Aw, that's perfect.
Aw, it's like so like I think you like me too, don't you? I don't know, like it was sweet, but it was
Well,
so
He was right.
well, no, it was like what was interesting is like I was like kind of interested, but he was like so ballsy that I was kind of like, yeah, I guess I am into you. Like, fuck, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I really am.
So that's the thing is any woman or version of woman can take that differently.
Yeah, but
So
I
it literally, it literally depends on the person, and it can work. It could have worked with Thomas, and there could have been somebody named Darren 6 weeks ago that tried the exact same thing and it didn't work. You know, so it's
Well,
it just
here's the thing,
depends.
though,
but I
is
liked him.
I only pulled that because, like, after years of, being in relationships and trying things and stuff, because, now my whole high school, I was awkward as shit. When I was in college, I was super awkward, but, like, that was 10 years ago.
You're still
I've been
awkward.
really putting myself out there since. And, I would not have tried that it sounds like I'm, like, pulling strings or, doing something, like, manipulative, but, like, I would not have asked that if I wasn't pretty confident that Hannah likes me at that point.
Right. Every day.
So at that point, like, I
Right, it
asked-
wasn't like, "Hi, do you like me?"
I'm Thomas Westbrook. You like me, right?
Well, the other thing is a lot of it too, like, as you build confidence, like, confidence is sexy. No matter who you are, like, it's not arrogance. Don't be arrogant, but, like, having confidence is kind of hot. And if you're, if you're friendly and nice and you're not manipulative and you're not just trying to use someone, but you're confident in yourself, like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there,
I thought it was sexy.
It's sexy. But Thomas, we got to wrap up because we're over time. We still got one more caller we got to get to.
Yeah, get out of here.
All right.
Thank you, Thomas.
And one thing that I'm noticing is that no matter what, whether it's about relationships or it's about religion, whatever, it just I fail to see when you can go wrong asking questions.
Yeah, right.
Unless there's like insincerity behind it,
If you're sincere.
Exactly.
With your, yeah. And we have another guest. We have Bandaid.
Hi, Bandaid. You have pretty blue eyes.
He's
such a cute baby.
Let's get to the last call because I have to.
So we do have to keep this call like kind of brief, but I think want to help out where we can. Jason just had a friend over that gave all the signals, but wasn't sure if it was the right time to move forward. Had planned a whole evening to see her, and she seemed upset. Jason, you're on with Jenna, Hannah, and me.
Bandaid and Ethan.
And Bandaid.
Yeah.
And Bandaid, yes, you guys. I met a friend in treatment, a little bit younger than me, and after we got out of treatment, she was going to come stay with me for a little bit, and she did. So I spent oh my god, $250 on a lift here in Canada.
Oh my god!
And came over. We went out on the town. And the last night she was with me, she's like, "You're going to rub my back and we're going in the bedroom." I told her, like, I would sleep on the couch kind of thing and you can have my bed. And no, that's not happening. But it was like right there. I rubbed her back and I'm going a little bit down below the pant line. And I said, "Do you want me to rub anywhere else?" And we kind of giggled and it seemed like consent at the time, but I just didn't go for it, and I don't know.
And she seemed upset.
I guess I needed like a.
Wait, you said you didn't go for it?
When she was going home, she was very upset. No, I did not.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, did you want to?
Of course I did. Yeah. That's
Okay.
the whole idea, but like,
So what's your question?
Just like what you could have done, like to know that it was the right time, and that's what her intentions were.
Next time, if that happens again, like, what should I say?
That's a really interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan, I feel like you'd be a good one for this because like you, I feel like have a really good method of like when the kind of heavy petting is about to turn into hanky panky.
I do, but I really don't want to be. It's just the problem is while I am confident in my own ability to read the situation, I'm not so confident in expressing how other people can read the situation.
I love your answer.
But
Sorry.
It confused me, but you can explain it to me later.
yeah, okay. So in summary, if you put me in a situation, I think 10 out of 10 times I'm going to get it right. However, I can't comfortably explain to someone else how to tell when is the right time. Only because it's completely situational and it's really hard to say. Everything's different. There's so many factors at play. I think it is important, though. So this is where I'm a little different than what I used to do. I used to believe because I could read the situation accurately and I was never wrong, that it was okay to base it solely on their body language. Now, I prefer to go for a little bit more clarification and just directly ask if, they're comfortable with happening or if they want to have sex.
So to you,
yeah.
The reason that you are confident in your abilities is because you have practiced that.
Yes.
Practice can teach you a lot of things that you aren't necessarily thinking, oh, I've put that together, but your brain puts it together. And so it's like, oh, I just know this. Well, you learned it at some point, and now at this point, you know it. So that's, I think, what you're feeling is you've learned what to look for. It's just you don't know that you can necessarily give enough of the clues that you pick up on to express it to someone else that they can understand it and accurately interpret it. Right?
Right.
But to practice, I think, is the key there, is that it literally just takes practice because of the fact that I think we've said it a little bit earlier, that everybody's different and every situation is different. Every pair or trio or whatever is different. It's, it just depends. And so it just takes practice.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're in that situation again, I mean, do you think would you feel awkward being like, can I kiss you? Because like, I don't think that's a really like mood killer question. I mean, that's like a good start. You know what I mean?
I've said that before. Yeah.
There's actually one question that almost turns me on.
We were both kind of bummed out when, yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. So I have unfortunately upset some women by taking longer than normal to make a move. But I think that's better than making a move too soon.
Yeah.
And you can always express like, hey, look, I really wanted to put the moves on you, but I didn't want to give you the wrong impression. Or I wanted to make sure you were comfortable, for instance, like I have expressed on different episodes, like I won't sleep with a woman the first time she comes to my house. I want her to feel safe and not pressured in any way. So I wait for the second. Well, I shouldn't say I wait for the second time.
And that's
when I
pounce.
No, that sounds so bad. But I mean, I just don't do it the first time.
But you expressed that. And I remember we actually had a conversation at some point about, you're like, well, what do I do? Like, express it. So this is the thing is, I'm noticing another trend is, what do I do when I'm feeling this? Tell somebody.
That you are feeling this.
Yeah. Or that you're thinking this, or that you're not thinking this, or that you're not feeling this. Tell them. so that's what I was going to kind of get to is, God, the more direct you are, I feel like the more you turn me on. Like the question that I love probably the most when in trying to get involved with somebody is, and I'm going to say it in like the sexiest way possible. Ready? Do you consent? Right? Like, didn't that work?
And you're like, yes, I do consent.
But you know what I mean? Like, just black and white. I mean, it's even if it's not sexy, it's funny, and so you don't lose. You know? Who's gonna get mad at you? Oh my God! How dare you ask me that?
You asked me for consent.
I know. So it's funny. I have seen, unfortunately, some, conservative men push that, like, why would you ask a woman? That's such a turn off. No woman wants that. And it's like, I'm sorry. Anytime I've asked, it's literally the opposite effect. Like,
yeah.
At least in my experience, they're more into it when you ask permission first.
I would giggle if someone asked me if I consented, but
Right?
it wouldn't ruin the mood. I'd just be like, yeah.
Well, but even little things like that, I mean, it's not going to kill it.
Especially if you're like rubbing her booty, like,
Right?
like I think that you like we're doing okay. Invite her over again. Let us know how it goes. Will she come back?
Please update us. I would love to hear how this goes. Hopefully, if she's still into you, let her know you'd like to try again. And if she's willing and she's interested, you can approach the situation with more confidence. Obviously, as long as you discussed it prior to.
Thank you, Ethan.
Remember, confidence, not arrogance. And
yes.
It takes practice. You may come off arrogant to somebody the first time you try. That doesn't mean that you are necessarily until you get, a little bit more practice.
Well, Jason, I hope we're helpful. I would love to have you call us back to let us know where this situation goes. But thanks for taking the time to call in.
I will definitely do that. Thank you for taking my call, guys.
Anytime.
We're rooting for you.
Again, just friends. We're just bros, man.
Thanks for the show.
Crap, I hit drop.
Oh,
Ameet, thanks for the $5 super chat. Then we've also got crap.
Oh, good
Here
job.
is Ameet's question. I wanted to get to that real quick. Okay. YFNA, how do you practice without coming across creepy when you fail? Well, okay, so for one,
practice more.
Sorry. Just, hey, again, ask permission first. Try hanging out with more women. Heck, hang out with as many women as possible. Get more comfortable around them. Ask them for advice. Like, hey, do you have any friends or any advice for me? Just keep talking to as many women as you can, and you will start, even if it's just as friends, you will start to see you should start to see your confidence build. And it is always beneficial when you're at a bar with other women to have other women with you when you go approach another woman. It's almost like they know you're safe because they see you hanging out with other women. Am I correct?
I've never done that.
I don't want to speak for women. That's what I've learned.
Puck said something awesome.
Oh yeah, where? Apparently I missed a couple of his questions.
No, just the one right at the bottom is like amazing.
Oh yeah.
You don't come across. Oh, we say it all together at the same time. No, go ahead, Ethan.
You don't come across as creepy when you fail. You come across as creepy when you keep trying despite being turned down.
Keep trying with the same person in the same way. Yeah.
That's all I can say. Like, that's the only thing that's ever like really, like, I've never been like, oh my God, they tried to get with me and now I never want to talk to them again. It's the ones who go like, hey,
but like really,
hey, bitch. Talking about the DM. Hey, you're beautiful. Hey, answer me, slut.
Yeah. I would
I'll
also
never-
say, sorry, just to add on. Can I add on?
Yeah.
I would also say to ask dudes even who are in relationships that you admire. Not just any dudes, obviously, but dudes who are in relationships with anyone that you think, oh, that sounds nice.
Ian, thanks for the $2 super chat. I love you guys. Thank you for being so kind. And what was the other thing? Puck. So he asked some questions, but unfortunately, when there's too many comments, StreamYard skips them. They go away, and I can't put them on screen. I did put one of them on screen earlier, but we were still talking, and I forgot to get back to it. The first one was, I can't. Never mind. Anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in and staying later for our show. Let me quickly thank our patrons. Then you guys just tell them what you got going on. We got Cindy Plaza, Kenneth, Leonard, Skye, JumpandShoot, Oz, Secular Rarity, Chianti and Fava Beans, Philip Leitch, Kaitlyn Beyond Toast, Richard Gilliver, Sunset Sarge. Thank you for your patronage. And also thank you to our call screener, Secular Rarity, and to our chat mods, and Kaitlyn Beyond. All of you are awesome. And P, how much do you charge for Bandaid therapy? Asking for a traumatized dog. Yeah, Bandaid will discipline your dog. That's for sure. If your dog's being an asshole, bring him over. Bandaid will take care of him. He will get him in line, and you will get back a well-disciplined dog.
Gosh.
Hannah, what do you got going on? Anything?
This. Oh, next week you're not going to be here, maybe?
The week after. Did you find out if someone wanted to fill in?
Oh, it's not next week? It's the week
No,
after?
it's the week after. Yes.
Oh, we're going to have to talk about that. Okay.
Okay. Well, there may be a special guest filling in for me 2 weeks from today. We'll see.
We'll
Jen,
see.
What do you have going on?
I am currently doing random guest shows and the Ethan and Jenna show, which we are moving. Yes?
Yeah, thank you.
We weren't going to move it to a different time on Sunday for Skeptic Generation, but decided that in lieu of keeping it kind of like a Skeptic Sunday and then working with our schedules a little bit better, we're moving the Ethan and Jenna show to Thursdays at 4 p.m. Central.
Thursdays are busy days.
Yeah, but Ethan at least on Thursdays, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's told me that these two shows like help his mental health, so it's not like work.
They do.
That's fantastic.
I always I feel better after them. Like I'll be stressed leading in, and then once it happens, it's like, oh, I feel so much better. It's literally like it's kind of like a drug for me. And I think that's why I'm so quick to do shows, because they make me feel good.
Good.
Just because I feel like I'm actually doing something worthwhile, because my day job, I'm fixing computers like here, maybe I get to help somebody, and that to me is really enjoyable. But we're well over time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Hannah, Jenna, thank you for jumping in on this special episode last minute. Everyone have a safe and wonderful week. We'll see you for this Atheist Sunday, the last Sunday episode of the Ethan and Jenna show, beginning at 10 a.m. Central. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.